Hello and welcome to Frank Fridays. My name is Karline Moeller and I'm the founder of Art Frankly. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Ellie Hayworth, who started Hayworth, an art consultancy committed to promoting intrepid ideas at the intersection of art and design. Today, we're chatting with Laura Currie, who is the founder of Prospect, an online retailer that collaborates with artists to create limited edition collectible art and design objects. Ellie, over to you.
Thanks, Carlina. Hi, Laura. I'm really excited that we get to chat today.
Likewise, me too. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So Laura, maybe we can just start. You're clearly a multi-hyphenate female entrepreneur in the arts. It would be a lot of fun just to hear a little bit about kind of how you got your start in the career in the professional art world, and then, maybe bring us up to founding Prospect.
Sure. Well, it was a pretty organic start. I wasn't planning on entering the art world, but I had always interned in college in different fashion houses and loved it. But immediately after graduating, I was offered an internship with an art publicist, and I really loved what she did because she really worked tangentially with fashion. So I got to, work with art and fashion both. And so that's sort of how my first taste of the art world. And really, in starting Prospect, a friend approached. She was looking for help with a real estate project. And it was a great way to work with some of the artists that I'd always admired. It was through that project and developing relationships with that artist, some of which, are well recognized, some of which weren't maybe, but one in particular expressed a real desire to reach an audience beyond the audience of his original works. So in discussing with this artist, I decided, hey, you think there's a gap, I think there's a gap. I really want to work with artists like you and create a product with an accessible price point.
I love that. Yeah, no, and I think it actually makes perfect sense, having segued out of the fashion world, to be thinking about art as something that could be both collectible, but also quite accessible in certain ways, and functional. So maybe you can tell us a little bit. We have seen various different collaborations with many artists over the years with Prospect, but maybe you can take us through what it's like to work with an artist and how to bring, whether it's a collection or an object, to fruition.
Yeah, sure. So I can say this very genuinely. Every single artist we work with and every single relationship, collaboration is so unique. Sure. With one artist, it might be that we have, we have a digital file and we work back and forth on renders and mock-ups and sampling. With another artist, we might travel to a country, work with artisans, create those products together, and then work with those ateliers to help create the additions. And in other instances, there's a lot of time spent in studio. So it really runs the gamut. It depends on how little or how much an artist wants to be involved in the collection, in a collaboration. But it's definitely a very individual basis to make sure that their needs are met without us sacrificing the quality of the product that we want to see in our end consumers with.
Yeah, I love that. And you've also partnered with a lot of nonprofits. I think, just before we hopped on this call, we were talking a little bit about the Coalition for the Homeless. So maybe you can talk a bit about some of the work that you've done to collaborate with nonprofits to help kind of democratize, if you will, the fundraising process.
Yeah, sure. So we've worked with, it's probably like 4 or 5 nonprofits to date, in various different ways. In some cases, it was an edition for their gala, or an edition that could be sold on their website via their newsletters, to raise funds for a gala. And most notably, our biggest project to date is the Coalition for the Homeless, the Artist Plate project that we're just in the process of our second year. It's our third year doing a plate with the Coalition for the Homeless, but our second year doing this project where we work with over 40 artists, develop plates with each of these artists. Each plate provides 100 meals. It's truly incredible. And especially now, in this time, in times of COVID, where these issues have continued to, been exacerbated and are far worse than they were even a couple years ago. We're so happy to be able to participate in this project and raise funds. And hopefully this year, more than ever, we will do that. And it's launching November 16th. So be sure to check out Artist Plate Project. At Artist Plate Project is the hashtag for the project.
I love that. Well, we'll definitely stay tuned. And as you're speaking, Laura, I can't help but think that I imagine there were a lot of, both challenges and opportunities with vertically integrating, finding, as you mentioned, ateliers or artisans. Maybe you can speak about some of either the learning opportunities or perhaps some of the challenges that are unique to Prospect that may not be an across the board art world problem.
Yeah. I mean, I would say generally speaking, it's an across the board problem or can be. We're a super small dynamic team. We tackle things as needed. Yeah. We definitely had to do a pivot during COVID, especially because a lot of our products that we were developing were for museum opening, all of which closed. Then we had to shift, what can we do more direct to consumer? But I think really the big thing is that everything we do is different. Like no two projects are the same, and we're a small team. So we have to be a very solution oriented company because everything's different. It's not something we do over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So every project has its own kind of distinct set of both opportunities and challenges, I imagine.
And a lot of it, probably some of it's production and design and figuring out how to make a viable product with the designs that we really want, because of course they're never the easiest products to make.
Sure. I love that. Well, are there any, we just talked a little bit about the Artist Plate Project. Are there any projects that we should kind of keep an eye out for while we're, promoting this to the Art Frankly audience?
Sure. So if anyone's in San Francisco, you should definitely check out the Judy Chicago exhibit at the DeYoung Museum. She just had her latest smoke fire performance. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago. We worked with the museum retail store to help them develop the products for the show, everything from totes to plates, iconic Judy Chicago plates. Yeah. So between that and the Artist Plate Project, we've been pretty busy. We do have a few collections that will be coming out early 2022, which is wild that we're talking about 2022.
I know. We're at the end of the year.
Stay tuned for more projects in 2022.
We certainly will. So we love to round out these interviews with some professional practice questions. So I'm curious, as we're speaking to an audience of either existing arts professionals or aspiring arts professionals, what is one piece of advice that has served you well in your career?
I would say keep your chin up, persevere, don't be easily deterred, be open to people experiencing everything in different ways, and be flexible, and don't be closed off to experimentation in any way.
I love that. I think that's quite valuable advice. And also just curious, beyond your work with Prospect, how do you stay in the know in the art world? What are you doing on the day-to-day to kind of keep your thumb on the pulse?
Totally. So I would say, of course, Art Frankly. I love reading the bare facts. That gives me a really good into in the primary, secondary gallery world. But I also love, because, of course, I'm interested in everything that's going on in the art and design world. My, sector is like very specific in the product space. So I love reading Architectural Digest. I love seeing what innovations are happening. I love Cultured, because I feel like Sarah Harrelson always has her finger on the pulse of what's up. And I also love Gallery Magazine. I feel like they usually hit a lot of the pretty cool art, design, fashion, tech, whatever cool collaborations are happening. I would say those are them.
Yeah, no, I think that is a strong hit list if someone were to round up the must reading. So I agree with that statement. So Laura, we are coming out of what is a kind of tumultuous year and a half. It looks like we're returning to a sense of normalcy. We are also rounding out 2021. Is there anything that you're particularly excited about before the end of the year?
I would say it's probably getting through our next holiday season. I think we've spent the last year really focusing on a lot of these projects that are partnerships, but we've also been, working on strengthening our platform, our shopping experience, talking to customers, seeing what we can do differently. So I'm really excited to get our different gift guides out.
Amazing. Well, we'll definitely stay tuned for those. And this has just been a really fun conversation generally, and I'm excited that we got to catch up.
Me too. Thank you so much again.